Do you have debt? Today, I'm going to show you the first steps you need to take on how to start a debt payoff journey and how to finally get rid of your debt once and for all. Hi, I'm Kumiko from The Budget Mom. Come along with me as I strive to live a life I love on a budget that I can afford. Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking all about debt. And I am very passionate when it comes to this subject because I myself am on a debt payoff journey. And my debt payoff journey really started probably back in June of 2018, is when I revealed to the world my debt in a way to keep myself accountable on my debt payoff journey. And so I announced it on Instagram, and it's something that I've been working towards ever since. I've always had debt though, especially after leaving college. I left with student loans and credit card debt. But my debt journey really started back when I was going through college. I dealt with some self-confidence issues, and it was those self-confidence issues and how I felt about myself that pretty much they were my spending triggers. It's what the underlying cause of what made me go out and spend money on clothes and the tanning salon and getting my nails done and all of those different things to compensate for the self-confidence issues that I was really dealing with. And it took me a couple of years to figure out that that was my spending trigger. So when you're on a debt payoff journey, what a lot of people don't understand is that a debt payoff journey doesn't mean that you're just making debt payments. A debt payoff journey is really learning to manage your finances in a way to set yourself up successfully in the future so you're not going into debt in the future as well. A debt payoff journey is all about making the right decisions with your money to prevent going into debt any further. And so for me, what's kind of happened in my life is I would pay off all of my debt, but end up using my credit cards again. I'd pay it all off and then I would rack up my credit cards again. And the reason is because I never truly found a system or a method that deterred me or set me up financially so I didn't have to use my credit cards. I would pay off my debt, I would celebrate, but I had nothing set in place to prevent it from happening again. And luckily, I now have my budget by paycheck method for my budget that really, my entire method is fully designed to deter me from ever feeling the pressure or the need to use credit cards. Now, I just got done paying off all of my credit card debt. $26,000 is what I ended up paying. Paid off all my credit card debt a couple of months ago, but I'm officially going to be screaming that I'm 100% debt-free by the end of January. I'm going to finish paying off my car loan and my student loans, hopefully by the end of January. So the number one question I really get, especially when you're just starting your debt payoff journey, is where do you even begin? And it can get pretty overwhelming when you're dealing with multiple credit cards, a car loan, your student loans, your mortgage payment. It's like, what debt do I even begin with? And so when you start a debt payoff journey, you need to create, I call it, a plan of attack for your debt. A step-by-step system that you can follow to ensure that you get out of debt in the fastest and smartest way. So there's a snowball method and there's the avalanche method. And I get a lot of questions on my Instagram, which one do I use? And is there one that I should use over the other? So let me kind of explain the difference. The avalanche method is paying off your debt with the highest interest rate first. And you do that because it's going to save you the most in interest payments throughout the life of your debt. If you use the snowball method, you're paying off your debt by the smallest balance first. And so I get the question, well, which one do I use? And I always have to say it really depends on you. So for me, on my debt payoff journey, I started with the snowball method because I wanted to see progress fairly early on in my journey. Of course, when you're tackling the smallest balance first, you're going to see that progress pretty early on in your journey. With the avalanche method, Then after I used the snowball method and I got rid of some of my smaller credit card balances first, then I switched to the avalanche method because seeing how much I was spending in interest every single month versus what was going to the principal of my debt, it made me furious. And a lot of people don't take the time to sit down and really figure out how much exactly is going to interest when you're paying off your debt, but it can add up. So I'm a numbers person, and saving money on those interest payments became my priority. And so I chose the avalanche method. So it depends on what is going to make you feel better. What are you going to feel? What feels right to you? So is it are you motivated by seeing progress early on in your journey, or are you motivated by saving money on the interest payments? And that's kind of determine what method you're going to use. But as far as starting your overall debt payoff journey, it can get kind of overwhelming with, where do you even begin? And so with the debt payoff journey, you make your minimum payments on all of your debts, but then you throw anything extra that you have, any extra income that you have, towards one debt at a time. You tackle one debt at a time. And which debt you tackle in your line of priority is dependent upon which method you're using. So today I want to show you a free online tool that I used to set up my plan of attack for paying off my debt. And it's a huge eye-opener, and I think it will really help you get started on your debt payoff journey. So let me show you. I try sharing my story to remind readers that there is a way out. That with hard work, dedication, determination, motivation, it's all about having a plan for your money. And that's what gives you the true control. Holy crap, it just changed my life. They're like, oh man, Nico, it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes work, but no more credit card debt. So the free online tool that I want to show you today is from a company called Vertex 42. It's the Debt Snowball Calculator. Now this is a free Excel spreadsheet, but if you scroll down, and I'll be providing a link to this online tool in the description of this video so you can access it, but there's many different options to download. So you can download it in Excel, in Google Sheets, depending on which device you're on. So I'm on a PC, so I'm just going to download the Excel version for 2007 or later. You just hit the download button, hit download again, and it's going to download onto your computer. So we'll open this up. So this is what it looks like when you first get started, when you first open it up. They're going to give you some examples. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use the examples that are pre-populated in the Excel template. But the first thing you need to do is you need to change the date to the start date of your debt payoff journey. So if that's today, you would write today's date. And the next thing, in order to get started on your debt payoff journey, there are a couple of different things that you need to know. So this is kind of the eye opener, and it's the scary part that a lot of people don't really like to do because they don't like to see all of their debt written down, but it's really important. So you want to write down all of the debt that you have. So your creditor. So in this example, they have it by card number 1, auto loan number 1. But what I did is I actually wrote down the credit cards that I had. So I wrote my Discover, my Capital One card, my car loan, my Navient student loans. But we're going to use this example, but you can write whatever you would like. You can totally alter or change these cells. Then I need you to write down the balance of each debt, the interest rate for each debt, and the minimum payment that you have to make on that debt every single month. So that's the first step, getting your debt all written down and in front of your face. And so that's the first one. The next thing, as you can see in this example, My minimum monthly payment on all of my debt is $270, and I have a total debt balance of $26,500. So let's say, for instance, I know I can make my minimum payments of $270, but I also have an extra $100 to throw at my debt every single month. So you might be asking, well, how do I know how much extra I have to throw at my debt? And that's where having a working, successful budget comes into the picture. Now, if you need help setting up a budget, I have provided a link in the description of this video that will show you how to set up that budget. But it's important because you need to know how much extra you have every single month to throw at your debt. So let's say in this example, not only can I afford the $270 a month to make my minimum payments, but I actually also have another $100 extra to throw at my debt. So my monthly payment then becomes $370. Your monthly payment in this Excel worksheet is your minimum payment plus anything extra you can throw at your debt. And you can see that will give us an initial snowball of $100. Now they use the term snowball payment. It's a term that just means extra debt payment past your minimum payment. So for us, that's $100. And if you have questions about what any of these are, you can just hover over and it will tell you what to enter in for each of those cells. But with our example here, if we pay the $270 a month plus our extra $100, and when you come down and look at the strategy, it's currently set up for the snowball method, and that lets you know that you're going to be paying off your debt with the lowest balance first. In this example, it puts it in order for you. So this is that line of priority that I was talking about. This is the priority in which you're going to pay off your debt. Using the snowball method, it's the smallest balance first, which is your auto loan number 1, $3,200. You can see also how many months it's going to take to pay off your debt, what month and year you'll be debt free, but one of the most important things is how much interest you're going to pay over the life of your debt, and that's using the snowball method. But let's say you want to try out the avalanche method and see what that would look like for you in your debt payoff journey. There's a down arrow and there's all these different options on how to pay off your debt. So if you just click on the avalanche method, it's going to change the table down here. And with the avalanche method, you're going to be paying off the debt with the highest interest rate. And for us, in this example, that's card number 2. It's got 13.5% interest. Doing that, there's a couple of things that I want you to be aware of. Do you remember with the snowball method, we were going to be debt-free December of 2028? With the avalanche method, you're going to be paying off your debt a little bit faster. And look how much interest you saved. So using the snowball method, you were paying about, let's bring it back, you were paying $17,000 in interest over the life of your debt. When you change that to the avalanche method, it drops from $17,000 to $14,000. So this is a great online tool to ask yourself, okay, if I use the avalanche method, what does that look like in my real life for my debt payoff journey versus the snowball method? I like to show people to play around with these two methods to give them an accurate picture of their debt payoff journey. But not only that, it's important to see how much interest you'll pay over the life of your debt. Now you might be asking, now down here is just a little chart to show you this is your interest due over the life of your debt, and here is your snowball. Now your snowball is going to increase on your debt payoff journey because once you're done paying off credit card number 2, the minimum payment plus the $100 extra that you were using then gets applied to credit card number 1, the next debt priority. So that's why they call it the snowball effect. You're essentially snowballing your payments into higher payments by paying off one debt at a time and using what you were were paying on your first debt to then tackle your second debt, and so on. But one of the questions I get is, well, what happens during my debt payoff journey where I can afford to make more than this $100 a month? So I do suggest that once you choose your debt payoff method, don't change anything in these charts, because this chart here is acting like your calculator. You want to go down here to the bottom of, there is tabs across the bottom, and you can't see it because my screen recorder really isn't picking up on it, but there's a couple of different tabs across the bottom. You want to go to payment schedule. This is where you're going to be entering information. Now, it's letting you know that you've chosen this avalanche, paying the highest interest rate first, and you're making a monthly payment of $370. And this breaks down your payments over the life of your debt. This is exactly what it's going to look like. Now, let's say, for instance, during the first year in January, the first month of my debt payoff journey, I can make $200 extra in my payments instead of the $100. There is an additional area here. You would just simply type in any additional income that you can put towards your debt for that month. And that's going to change your table. So if you are going to be making changes to how much you're making in your debt, towards your debt payoff journey, towards your debt in any given month, make sure that you write it in this additional tab here on the payment schedule tab down at the bottom. You don't want to touch your calculator tab once you have it set. So this is the free online tool. Another thing that I really want to suggest that you also play with is playing with your payments. Now, this is something that really got me motivated on saving as much money as I could for my budget to throw at debt, because I want to show you. Let's say instead of only $100, we have $200 to throw out our debt. So our payment then becomes $470, $200 extra dollars. Look it. By just adding an extra $100 to my debt payoff journey, I shaved 3 years off my debt payoff due date, and look at how much interest I saved. Almost $5,000 I saved on interest just by adding an extra $100. And when I saw this, when I first started, I'm like, oh my gosh, well, if I can do that and shave that much time off my debt payoff journey and save that much in interest, I want to throw as much as I possibly could towards my debt, because I saw the crazy impact of adding extra payment to my debt every month. And so that's what I want you to play with, is also playing with this monthly payment. It's a great motivator. Man, once you can see that you can shave off years and interest off your debt payoff journey, it's worth going through and trying to find that extra money in your budget. Now, for me, that meant eating out less, cutting my food costs, challenging myself to save more every month. So if you have any questions on this free online tool, you can always ask questions over in my private Facebook community, TBM Family, and I'm happy to answer any questions over there. If you found this video helpful, please share it, and don't forget to subscribe.